Live from Miami, Florida.
I am Linda.
And I am Bella.
And this is our podcast, Mostly Peaceful Latinas, where every week we will discuss current events, politics, pop culture,
and everything else related to the state of the clown world.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Mostly Peaceful Latinas.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, Bella.
How's it going?
It's going great.
We're doing good.
We're doing awesome.
Our subscribers are going up.
Yes, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback. So thanks everyone for watching. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share these videos. And same thing with our podcast on Apple. If you prefer to listen to us on Apple, you can also go to Spotify, and we're going to upload them on Rumble very soon.
Very soon. But don't forget to rate us on
Please
YouTube. And iTunes. We're
Yes.
trying to beat every other political podcast out there.
Absolutely. But it's doing great. We're also on TikTok. So same handle everywhere at Mostly Peaceful Latinas on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok.
And thank you guys for this overwhelming support that
Yes.
we've received.
It's been absolutely
since
amazing.
launching. So we're going to go over headlines today because yet again, the clown world
Peaked.
peaked.
So the first thing that I wanted to bring up was that I saw the Easter Bunny taking care of our president, which is great and reassuring that we finally have some sort of intelligent being that's not Jill. Just the president's like wandering around, and then you see like the Easter Bunny like, sir, this way, please. Like, just stop talking. Just go this way. So that was great. I also saw that the White House has a cat now, which is another sign of even greater intelligence in the White House. As a cat owner myself, I personally know how cats are. So that was reassuring. I think that we're in better hands under the Easter Bunny and the cat.
You feel safer than you did a month ago?
I did. I would prefer my cat to have the nuclear codes.
Give the cat the code.
So, I think that the first headline that we're going to cover today, which is great news, but also we can't get too comfortable and a little bit too late, is that a federal judge in a Florida judge, actually appointed by Trump.
Trump appointed.
She struck down the federal mask mandates on public transportation, and the liberals are going crazy.
No, they are absolutely. I think that the best part about this is to watch who's going to self-combust, right?
Yeah.
We've seen Twitter go nuts. There's
Twitter.
people talking about how they're going to double, triple mask. They're not going to stop.
Absolutely.
It's a complete travesty. I can't believe that they've taken away the mask mandate.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, the rest of us celebrating like it's a Puerto Rico plane that just landed in the island.
So I honestly, I refuse to fly outside of the country throughout this whole COVID BS. Like the trips that I took in 2020 were strictly, I think it was only like
DC.
It was only like politically based, basically. Like when I went to the RNC, when I did some walk away in Philly, then whatever. But I like the only trips I took for leisure were actually in Florida. So I vacationed in Florida, just drove to those places.
Why would you want to go anywhere else?
Exactly. And then in 2021, I had a bachelorette party, so I had to go to Vegas. And I just refused to fly with the stupid mask and all the BS. And flying's already so annoying to me. I hate flying. So, I guess I'll probably take a trip now because I don't have to wear a mask and I don't have to argue with
Well, I mean, that is a heavy assumption that you're going to be sitting, that there's probably you're going to be sitting next to somebody sane.
Right.
Of course, you could be sitting.
Put on your mask. Put on your mask.
Put on your mask, ma'am. Put on your mask.
So I want to read a couple of these tweets that I found from Libs. Like, their heads are like, look at this one. So this one is at Roland Smith. We're gonna obviously put these up now. But Roland S. Martin on Twitter, a verified blue checkmark dude. And this is what he says. First of all, he's literally wearing goggles on, like, it's not just the mask, it's also like the goggles. And this is what he says. I don't give a damn what some grossly unqualified Donald Trump judge said. I'm double masked. I'm wearing goggles on this Nashville to DC flight. I had COVID in December. Y'all can kiss my ass about me not wanting it again. And any fool saying they don't matter is a damn liar. So that's
it's the Stockholm syndrome. It's Stockholm syndrome.
It literally is, and it's just like it's been proven time and time again. We obviously we can't get into the YouTube would probably give us a strike if we even get into like remotely
what it is that's been proven that it doesn't.
So we don't need to prove anything. Here's another tweet by People's CDC. And it says this: the People's CDC urges the TSA, CDC, and the White House to prioritize the health of the people over the preferences of corporate executives and to extend the federal mask mandate for public transportation. This is the People's CDC.
Forever.
So,
isn't it? I mean, does anybody tell these people that nobody elected the CDC?
And that's what we've been seeing.
They don't
for a
make
very long
laws.
time.
They don't make guidelines.
Yeah,
they
like
make suggestions.
Right. They're not a legislative branch. So
they're also easily bought based off research that we know exists out
Right.
there. They can be very easily influenced. So yeah, I'm sure that the liberals are having an absolute meltdown over, and not just the liberals. We know.
Here's another one. This one kind of like got a lot of hits on Twitter, and it says, this is at B52 Melman, Barbara Melman, and it says, this is beyond stupid because the freaking pandemic is not over.
I guess we went back to being virologists now. Everybody's a virology specialist now.
They went from Ukraine, Eastern European experts to, basically virologists. And then the White House, actually, Jen Psaki, she clearly doesn't believe in the rule of law. She doesn't believe in the court system and the legal system. She doesn't believe in anything because she's a commie. But with that being said, this is what the White House had to say. She basically said that this decision shouldn't be up to the courts, that this should be up to the health agencies. And it's like, once again, we did not elect the CDC as a body of legislation. Like the CDC, it's not here to mandate stuff on us. And this is the problem that's been happening
that we've had since
COVID.
day one. Because since day one,
yeah.
we've had not the president, but local governments use CDC suggestions on their guidelines to try and impose totalitarian rules, if you will,
over
that are completely contradictory to our constitution. Like, there's no, let me take your rights for 2 weeks. Like, that's right. That's not how that works.
But this is the problem with all these agencies and bureaucracy that we have in the federal government that's so large, and there's all these laws that have passed for years and years and years that have given the rights, that have given, power to these agencies. So, that's pretty much for the good news on mask. I'll probably take a trip for sure. And with that being said, something else that
let's
happened
talk about
today,
more great things coming out of
Florida,
of
the best state in the union,
in the world.
It used to be Texas. It used to be California. Now it's
anymore.
us.
It's
We're
us.
the envy of the world.
Win. So coming out of Florida, special sessions have started to
Tell us.
rip Disney World of their special privileges, which I'm sure most people don't even
Did Daddy
realize.
DeSantis call this special legislative session?
Daddy DeSantis has called a special legislation, which is great because, the schizophrenics have really been going in on DeSantis, wondering why he hasn't shut down Disney. Why haven't you shut it down with all the horrible things that happened there for no reason at all? But he's actually doing something that should make the conspiracy theorists happy enough. So special session has started. For those that are unaware, Disney has a really complicated history from the moment that they started obtaining their land around Orlando to build Disney World. They've been granted special privileges where basically they operate like a sovereign nation.
Yeah.
They've got their own government, if you will, their own judicial system. Disney has their own jails, their own judges, processes that they deal with, even specific tax exemptions that have nothing to do with the rest of the U.S.
And they've taken that for granted. So now Daddy DeSantis is like, okay, you wanna teach, or you wanna support wokeism, woke ideology. You want to go against parents, we the people, what the people wanted. You want to say gay and all their little employees walking around. Okay, cool. We're going to hit you back where it hurts, which is taking away these special rights that we granted you.
Correct.
So, I have here, which I'll read to our viewers or listeners.
You know what it is with me is that it's not Disney's a private company. I guess looking at it from, a libertarian type of view, they're free to have whatever opinion they might have on the gender crisis, because it is a crisis. It is a crisis. I think that the
housing crisis,
the part that's incredibly terrifying and should be to every American is the audacity of a private company trying to go against what's been voted on by elected officials. Disney does not get a say when there is a vote between our legislators on what law is going to be made up.
Who put those legislators in place? It was us, right?
Us,
it was the people, per district, per county. And we actually brought up this point on the second podcast on the OK Groomers, about Disney. But basically believing in corporate fascism, which is that they even went as far as saying that they would help the Democrats repeal the parental rights to education bill or whatever it's called. But with that being said, just really quickly, for viewers and the people that don't know about this, I mean, I didn't know about it, which is when did Disney get these special privileges? Like how did they allow this and when did they do this?
So there was a lot of involvement, actually. So from its enactment, I believe in the 1960s or so, even the most significant part of like just buying the land that it was going to be on is sold to Disney by our government in pennies for them to be able to take over this land.
I guess because it brought businesses and jobs.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that was
deal, right?
That's
a big deal.
I guess that's the ideal situation, right? I mean, I guess it depends on who you ask. Like, was there something that could potentially be more nefarious there? Like, what do we know about Disney's relationship with our, three-letter agencies? Walt Disney had relationships with the three-letter agencies dating way back to the inception of Disney World even becoming a thing. So I guess
Disney, the original Disney, did call out the communists in Congress. I told you about that, right?
You had mentioned that to me. I had not seen that, but there are. We should have an entire episode on Disney really exposing.
He did actually warn Americans and Congress about the infiltration of communism in Hollywood, which is interesting. Yeah, so
that was once upon a time when
I have
commies
here
had.
That in 1967, Disney got the support of the Florida then Republican Governor Claude Kirk and the legislature to establish the Reedy Creek Improvement District. It gave Disney near total control of nearly 40 square miles as it built and then operated its theme park. It exempts the park and its environment, I guess it says environment, from nearly all state regulations.
Because it's all of it. I mean, we're talking about down to the gas stations and
property
supermarkets.
Taxes and elevator inspections are exceptions. So a lot of power for these people to be acting up and trying to go against the governor of Florida who doesn't play any games, and it's literally the captain of fuck around and find out.
Well, I mean, that's what they're doing. They're wielding their power and their influence around. Right. And, it has a lot more to do with the influence, right?
Because
have you ever tried
a global brand?
Right. Like, have you ever tried, like, something breaks on your Apple phone and you try to call Apple and, like, you're like, oh, I'm going to take my business elsewhere. And they're like, okay. Good luck. They know you're not going anywhere. And I think that Disney has a similar way in where they handle backlash from the public, where it's like, you might hate me and you're still going to play our movies for your kids.
Right.
Your kids are still going to want to buy our products. They're still going to want our dolls. They're still going to want to watch our cartoons, and you don't have a say. And, time and time again, we've said it. You either got to get uncomfortable or they'll make you uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So the getting uncomfortable is the holding these movies, the support for Disney back from your children who are clearly going to want to be involved. The getting uncomfortable and making you uncomfortable is when now you have this private organization that feels like they can supersede the voice of we the people and the individuals that we elect to represent our best interests, right? So let's see where it goes. I just saw Sabatini posted he was mad excited about being out there. He's like, Disney, let's and go.
Yeah, he's totally on board with that, along with the constitutional carry. I think they're also going to do a special legislation for that. And with that being said, I think the craziest peak clown world headline and story that we have is that the account, the Libs of TikTok, the woman behind the account Libs of TikTok, is being doxed by a Washington Post reporter. Her name is Taylor Lorenz, and also Christina Passarello, who is the editor of the Washington Post tech column or something like that.
Let's just talk about what are we even talking about here, right? So number one, Libs of TikTok.
Yes.
It's which we an briefly account mentioned in our last episode So it's an account made up of publicly available videos
right.
on TikTok. They're public, posted by teachers. You can view them at any point in time. The problem
they show up on my TikTok algorithm all the time.
So this woman has curated a collection of these absurd videos posted by the left, and nothing, just absolutely just posted these videos on the page and called it Libs of TikTok, which is what it is.
And it's massive on Twitter. She has a lot of followers on Twitter.
On TikTok as well.
On TikTok too. So we read the article. The article came out, I think, yesterday or today by Taylor Lorenz. And the biggest takeaway, I think, from the article is that these LGBT organizations and obviously journalists who are activists or activist journalists, is that this account is shaping not only public discourse, but also the policies that are being, and the legislation that is being passed in Texas and Idaho and Florida and in other red states against the woke LGBT indoctrination of children at schools.
Well, that's what Tory is claiming as her Taylor is claiming as her justification.
Right, for doxing a private citizen.
So she had a very public meltdown, I believe about a year ago, where she came out about doxing. I assume she had been doxed herself.
Online violence.
It's so dangerous, doxing people and putting their lives in danger for having a difference of opinion, blah, blah, blah. So she goes off about this. Doxing is no playing matter. It's very serious.
Like, we should probably play the
she's
clip.
Quite literally crying. In fact, let's play that.
Every single social tie, I had severe PTSD from this. I contemplated suicide. It got really bad. You feel like any little piece of information that gets out on you will be used by the worst people on the internet to destroy your life. And it's so isolating.
So she's crying about people getting doxed. And then, of course, because the internet is forever, this video has now come back to haunt her, right?
Yeah, it was actually the Libs of TikTok girl who found it
and brought it back.
And posted it.
So now she's had to default to justifying her behavior. And she claims that we shouldn't enter a debate about doxing right now. It should be, what she's hoping is that she can showcase how this account has affected the violence against the LGBT and trans community.
Right. So the other thing that I saw on that article is that, or what we actually talked about before we came on board, is that when people shit on conservative influencers, right? Like all the time, from the biggest ones to the smallest accounts, it's like they find this to be ridiculous. And what are they doing? This is how powerful one account is, because that account has been featured on Joe Rogan, it has been featured on Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham Angle, and I mean,
all of the mainstream media has picked this up.
In fact, that account helped us with that school, the Miami Country Day School.
Correct.
They were one of the first accounts to make that video go viral. Matt Walsh then retweeted it.
Maybe you should say the story for those who don't remember.
So for those who don't remember, there was a controversy here in Miami around November.
Correct.
Okay. And the controversy was that this extremely expensive Miami Country Day School, right? The tuition's like $45,000 to $50,000. And what ended up happening was that they had this like school activity, right? Like this like dance class or whatever. And they hired a drag queen, a black drag queen dressed in a cheerleading outfit to come dance for the kids of this class and also teach the kids about what they call hall room dancing or ballroom dancing. I forgot the little keyword that they used, but it was basically like a drag show. Like just like they dance in like the RuPaul drag show that they do the death drop and all this shit. Basically, it was that. The problem happened that apparently in student assemblies in the school, they usually take away their phones or they tell them to put away. Apparently, that part is not abnormal, or like it's pretty normal for them to do, where they just don't want the kids to be in their phones.
Recorded, right?
Obviously, kids, this is high school, And kids who weren't okay with any of this, right? They took their phones into the auditorium. They recorded this performance. They posted it on TikTok, their own kids, and it went viral. We got a hold of the content through somebody else, and then we started pushing this content. And
we got a lot of feedback from students that felt that they had been silenced and that they weren't allowed to have an opinion on this push for
this was
LGBT.
A big local scandal, and we can obviously show like another episode of all these. Like, I personally talked to some of the students and how uncomfortable they were for the performance, how uncomfortable they are with all of the LGBT stuff at the school, the BLM. A lot of the kids are actually conservatives, Christians, and Jewish. Spoke to Jewish people as well. I spoke to parents, the parents saying that they're no longer donors of that school, because aside from the fact that they pay all this money, like $50,000 per child, it was a parent that was like, I have 2 kids. I pay $90,000 a year for my kids to go there, for them to see this stupid ass thing, So anyways, that is basically what the Libs of TikTok, it's such an important and powerful account. Twitter's trying to ban it. She's already been banned twice, so she has one more chance before she's permanently removed from Twitter.
Under what grounds do they ban her? I mean, it's reposted content.
Well, sometimes it's based on like her caption.
Right.
Do you know, if she's like, look at this degenerate like teacher, and the teacher happens to be a pansexual panda. And so that now, that now has become hate speech against this pansexual panda teacher. So it may be the wording on her captions, that gets her in trouble. But it doesn't matter, because once you have those connections in the media who communicates with the Twitter people, they're going to find a reason to ban you.
Right.
They've done it. Yeah. So with that being said, I saw this tweet today from Tin Pool, which is absolutely insane. I want to read it to you guys. Okay, so I got this Tim Pool tweet, and this is what he says. The original article from Taylor Lorenz included a link to Libs of TikTok's private work details and full address. A full-on dox. The updated version of the Washington Post removed the link, which I would not post here.
So, I mean, she didn't just dox. Like, she showed up to her family's house.
Home. Yeah.
She showed up. Can you know what? Like, you can tell that's not Miami-Dade.
No,
you can tell that's not Miami-Dade. They didn't show up to some like Latina parent's house, like asking like, "Oh, are you Red Pill Babe's parents?"
If somebody from the Miami Herald or Miami New Times dare to show up at someone's house, it will end up on the news for other reasons that I'm not gonna say.
No, right, correct. I mean, you don't show up to somebody's house, and hostigarla.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? Like, where's this? Where's the balance at? And again, like, this woman says that she feels like there was justifiable reason.
That's what they do.
Because of the influence that this account had congressionally. Because it was bringing in change into legislation. She's tying this account to the influence that it's having over the parental rights bill that was just passed, which does protect students. And it's like that, the desperation of seeing the right making moves and things that are working will make somebody so disconnected from reality that they're like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to show up to her tia abuela's house, be like, hey, are you so-and-so's mom?
Right.
Where do people feel justified? I mean, and we've talked about this so many times with,
It's journalists, because they have not gotten any pushback or any punishment for their actions, which I have to go back and talk about Blatty Daddy, because Blatty Daddy said you get 15 fucking years if you spread fake news. And CNN could have stayed. They chose to leave because they spread fake news.
Because they didn't want to spread the truth.
It's funny because you see the conservatives, Vladimir Putin's such a dictator. Like, he's putting journalists in jail. Who the fuck cares? Like, who cares? Why do I care if Vladimir Putin wants to put CNN and MSNBC and Vice people in jail?
Aren't we
where they deserve to be? They deserve to be in jail.
We're living how bad it is. Literally. We're living the results of
Taylor Lorenz should be in jail for her unethical journalism practices. And that is the problem, that there's not enough pushback on these journalists.
And she's not the only one. We're living right now in what the result of bad, fraudulent journalism can do. The division that we're seeing in our country right now has very little to do with the dual party system and a lot more to do with the influence, the absurdity of the media.
Absolutely.
And how far they've pushed to create a narrative that only fits one side. It's just become too obvious, right? So to some degree, at what point do we start looking at journalism with the idea that journalism there used to be a barometer of, you know, what's right, what's ethical, and look at the fact that that's not happening anymore, and what can we potentially do to protect our country from the dangers that come with a media that's allowed to run rampant with bullshit.
Yep. Here's a tweet from Christina. I don't know how to say your last name. Pusha, whatever. Pusha. She's DeSantis's press secretary. Obviously, the liberal media hates her because she is a young, fierce, and extremely intelligent and fiery,
conservative woman,
spokeswoman, and she doesn't care. She fires back all the time against the media, so they hate her. Anyways, Taylor Lorenz contacted Christina, and this is what she had to say. Right, so the Washington Post reporter that is exposing and doxing Libs of TikTok contacted DeSantis' press secretary, and this is what she says. Subject, on deadline, Washington Post reporter seeking comment. Hi, Christina. I'm a tech reporter at the Washington Post. We are running a story to exposing the woman behind the Libs of TikTok account. Our story mentions your many interactions with the account and praise of it. If you'd like to offer comment, please let me know within the next hour. You can give me a ring on, phone number if you prefer. Thanks, Taylor. Yeah.
You have 1 hour to give commentary on this expose, on this dox expose that they're letting me run on this major publication, because this is where we're at. And then, this goes back to the critique that people receive, where it's like, absolutely. At what point do we hold the fake news media accountable for BS like this? This is irresponsible.
I don't care.
This is irresponsible. Now, you're putting that woman's life in danger for having an opinion that differs from yours.
What's happened before with like BLM and Antifa showing up at people's houses.
Correct.
That's what they do. If you don't think this insane alphabet mafia people are going to show up to this woman's house in Brooklyn, in New York, out of all places, to try to intimidate her, shame her, potentially even hurt her. Yeah. Here's something else that, before we move on to the next subject, that Christina said, which is pretty hilarious. She goes, here's why private citizen Libs of TikTok incurred the wrath of WAPO's Taylor Lorenz. Number 1, degenerate progressives posted public videos about how they have sexually explicit conversations with minors. Number 2, Libs of TikTok reposted these videos. Number 3, degenerates face professional consequences. So oligarch-owned state media, the Washington Post, is being wheeled to push Biden regime, Pentagon, FBI talking points, defend left-wing degenerates, and now intimidate and dox private citizens who try to protect kids from left-wing degenerates. Taylor Lorenz was just crying on MSNBC about her experience with online violence. Yeah.
It goes back to me where the problem is the curated collection of these videos, because these videos are posted by these teachers.
That's why also.
And they're proud of them. I mean, the majority of these videos, you'll hear them. I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to keep on doing what I want to do. I'm going to keep on teaching what I want to do. I'm going to keep on having my LGBT flag. I'm going to keep on telling kids they can be trannies and he and she's or whatever it is at 5, 6 years old. And I don't care what the governor tells me. So it's like, if we did something like that, if a patriot said something, we can't even openly talk about November 3rd.
Yeah, we can't even. I mean, if we can't say it, we're going to be banned from this channel.
We can't talk
about that, and we talk about COVID.
So it's like you've got these people openly talking about how they're going to break the law. They don't care. This woman curates a collection of these people saying we don't care, and then when they're held accountable for it, then it's the crying situation where now they're going to attack and they're going to blame her and we're going to dox her and intimidate her, because truly that's what it is. What they're hoping is that they can intimidate her to the point where they'll shut down the account.
Yeah. And again, I go back to, I love when authoritarians like Blatty and others, and right now even the president of El Salvador, hits back against the media and makes them cry. Oh, Linda, that's not this. You sound like a fascist. Excuse me. We don't have a free and fair media when you have these activists camouflaging as journalists, intimidating, doxing, shaming, and targeting private citizens. The media was always supposed to be the fourth branch of government to keep the government accountable and be on our side to share with us stories that mattered and news. That's not the case anymore. They work for the Biden regime.
Correct.
When Trump was in power, they work for the Democrats as the voice of the opposition, and they have not been held to any standards. There's no standards for the media.
How many things have they gotten wrong? How many things have they gotten wrong? There's no one that's gone back. I mean, let's go back to the laptop. This is a media that spent months telling us that the laptop was fake and that it was a lie and that it wasn't real and that we shouldn't worry about the contents on it. And now we have 3-letter agencies and they don't even admit it. They won't even take accountability for the fact that they erroneously affected and influenced what took place in November because of their inability to share truth and
Twitter
then to silence.
Suspended the New York Post, was it?
Correct.
For the Hunter Biden story?
The New York Post. The New York Post.
If you don't align with the regime, you are going to suffer the consequences either by getting banned from their state-owned companies like Twitter, like YouTube, whatever, or you're going to be targeted by the media. Yeah.
Correct.
So, that's
how clown world peaks. I mean, honestly, I look, you know what? Being in the public eye and, experiencing with people of like threats of like doxing and so on and so forth, it's just such a cop out. And I think that it's also such, once you see somebody getting doxed, it says a lot about like, all right, well, this person must be onto something, right? Because it's like, why are they trying so hard to silence them? Anyways, speaking of Twitter. Let's talk about that boy Elon and his, what was it, $40 million cat. He said he was going to pay cash. He said he was going to walk in and buy Twitter and he was going to pay cash. And the board is freaking the out right now.
Is Elon the conservatives like new savior? Because I've gotten so much crap for just like trolling people on Elon. In fact, I was going to make a meme about it.
About people getting mad about Elon?
About people, like when I opened up the app the other day and like everybody was posting about Elon. Like, he's going to save free speech. And I wanted to make a meme with I sent it to you. Why are you gay? like when I open Twitter and all conservatives are like praising Elon. Like, excuse me, why are you gay?
Well, because it's what it comes at. He's such a funny figure, right? Because I think it's a good example of how people want every character to be black or white.
Right.
A good guy or a bad guy.
Right.
And Elon is the perfect example of somebody in like a grayish area. Personally, I think that Elon is a spoiled rich guy that wants to get his way and he doesn't like that he's being silenced by Twitter. So he's like, F you. How about I buy you, motherfucker, out? And you can't shut me up. Yeah. I think it has a lot less to do with him trying to do the right moral thing by conservatives and liberating, us from the shackles of Twitter, and a lot more to do with just what's in his own benefit, right? But again, it almost seems like it's shocking to see the same group of people that's completely paranoid about just about everything else. They have every reason to not trust people on their side, their friends, the people they get their news from. Everything's a conspiracy. If you hold the triangle on too long, then you're Illuminati.
Basically, this is what Musk did, right? The guy goes in, he buys a bunch of shares. So he becomes a part majority shareholder, not the majority shareholder. This was a big thing.
Well, that's kind of what he's trying to accomplish right now.
Right, he is trying to accomplish that.
Because he realizes that just being a small, stakeholder isn't enough to get his way.
Right, so it was supposed to be passive, right? That he buys shares passive. The next day, though, we wake up to the news that Elon Musk is not going to be part of the board, which then he would have more influence, blah, blah, blah. The media starts going crazy. There's actually a hilarious headline that says, right here, I want to put it up. It says, Elon Musk buying Twitter could have grave implications for civil rights, says Urban League. That's the headline. There was a guy comparing it to like the Weimar Republic. Like, this is like the last night of the Weimar Republic. I posted about it. It was so funny. There was another liberal saying how she's not gonna buy Tesla and this whole thing, and other people like in the comments like, yeah, like boycott Tesla. Like now liberals don't want to boycott Tesla. So
the pipeline is back on,
right? So basically that's where we are with that. And so what ended up happening was that he then went and made Twitter an offer. What was the offer? That he was going to buy Twitter at $54.20 a share, about $43 billion. And then on Friday, like immediately after that, then Twitter adopted a limited duration shareholder rights plan, often referred to as the poison pill, in an effort to fend off potential hostile takeover. That's what they're calling it. They're calling it a hostile takeover.
This is now the second time. So now like the free market says, no, wait, screw that, because Elon Musk gets involved. So I don't know if you recall with the GameStop. So Elon Musk pushes GameStop. GameStop is about to crash. AMC he pushes the Redditors, right? He pushes the Redditors to go out there and buy GameStop stock, which ends up backfiring on all these people that had basically invested money hoping that it would tank, and completely flips the market upside down. And when people start losing money,
this is the whole Robinhood
they shut down the market. Robinhood wouldn't let you buy GameStop stock anymore. So it's like, well,
AMC stock.
We already know what we know about free elections. And now it's like, well, we already know what it is that we know about free speech. And now it's like, well, so much for that whole free market thing. Because then here comes Elon, but I can control the whole market. Right. And they're like, no, you can't. Rules change.
Well, immediately after that, here's another headline, which is that Vanguard actually bought more shares to counter Elon. So now Elon is not one of the majority shareholder. Vanguard now
they're all coming together, joining all their forces to stop Elon. By any means necessary. Correct. Elon must not buy Twitter and let Donald Trump back on.
And he's an interesting character. And again, I've had conservatives so mad at me because I troll on Elon all the time. I've never been a Tesla person. I don't trust them. I don't trust the electric car system, which then leads me to believe, right? Why is he doing this? Of course, it is an innovation. It is a different technology. The cars are beautiful. The insides are gorgeous. The screen that they have,
it's very sleek.
It's sick, right? Like it's whatever. I still don't trust it at all. Number one, because this goes to show me that Elon's into this whole climate change.
Well, I mean, let's talk about Grimes, his wife, who is an open communist,
right?
Pushing for communists, believes that everything.
Now she claims that she's not a real communist, that it's like her playing around and whatnot. But I told you that there was this one day, for those of you who don't know, like one of my favorite things to do is after I'm done with the workday, I go on TikTok and I just watch stupid videos, like not really political, just like whatever is funny in my algorithm, right? And I came across Grimes one day and I'm like, dude, like, let me just go. Like, first of all, this girl, like, she's just weird. I guess it has Elon Musk likes that like weird alien
like gamer like alien aesthetic.
Right. Yeah, but I just fell down the rabbit hole and I'm like watching her videos and she's like giving me anxiety because of the way that she talks. And then
have you seen her maternity pictures?
No.
So in her maternity pictures, and I don't know if it's real carving or if it's made to look that way, but she's got like ancient symbols carved into her pregnant belly. Like blood drawing. It's so distasteful, right?
Strange.
And it's like it's hard to make an argument.
Demonic.
It doesn't look right. And then it's one of those things where I think everybody wants the guys to be either a good guy or a bad guy. They want everybody to be the dualism. It's either a good guy or a bad guy. And it's like, here you have a guy like Elon Musk who can be dangerous to our society long term.
He's an oligarch. He's the oligarchs that they warn us about.
Here's this guy
Russia.
that can take over Twitter. This guy could potentially take over an entire Twitter company. I mean, Donald Trump couldn't do that.
With the Saudis, the Habibis said no. because the Saudi prince is one of the majority, like, also shareholders. He said absolutely not. They don't want him to take over. But
because of the precedents that potentially sets. I mean,
well, Twitter. Again, we can't go to the November 3rd election, but Twitter had a lot of influence and not just public discourse, but what happened with the big lie.
Right. So, it's what happened after that. Right. And it's like again, people want so bad to believe that somebody's either a good guy or a bad guy.
But let me go back to Grimes for a second, because we deviated. We deviated from this. I see a video, and it's Grimes talking about why communists should accept, or why artificial intelligence, AI, and communism should merge, and it's a thing. And then she's explaining to her fans, and it's funny because her fans, or not just her fans, but TikTok users are actually trolling her, because they're like, how could you be a communist when you're married to the richest guy in the world, one of the richest guys in the world? How could you, they're trolling her. So she's basically trying to make AI and communism happen. But my thing is, and Elon has said himself, is that a lot of jobs are going to be replaced by artificial intelligence and also by robots. So a bunch of people are not going to have jobs. Therefore, they're going to have to go on what? Universal basic income, which Elon was just talking about this a few weeks ago. And I will say this, he's not wrong. I'm not talking about the universal basic income aspect, but in the aspect that there will be a lot of jobs that are going to be taken over by AI and by robots. And actually here, Sergio's, there's a Sergio's here that has a robot.
That has a robot walking around.
I've never seen
I think it's in Kendall, the one in Kendall.
I've never seen that one. The one that I go to is still all people, but there is already a Sergio's. For those of you who are not from Miami, Sergio's like a famous Cuban restaurant here. And they have a robot as a server that brings you your food from the kitchen. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? So that's one less...
McDonald's now, they have places that you can
Publix,
your order,
self-checkout, actually Whole Foods on the beach just kind of replace almost every single cash register. I think they have 2 or 3 and the rest are all self-service. Right. So he's not wrong in that sense.
That it is coming, but I mean, the solution isn't universal income. I mean, let's just discuss
that. Was also Andrew Yang's
Alex Jones has been screaming about this for close to a decade, that about the future is of transhumanism. That what this elite cabal wants is transhumanism, to mix us with technology, because we are not perfect in God's image. To those that don't believe, they believe that we need to be upgraded and controlled. And how do you do that? With
chips,
updates. It's software updates that you need regarding
a computer.
You're just a computer.
And you know what else that people don't talk about? There are so many bad reviews on Teslas. In fact, China... And I won't get into the China thing just yet, but the other day, there's this famous TikToker, and he's also a famous Instagrammer. He's a gay guy. He's actually really funny. I don't know his name right now, but the point is that he had a whole meltdown on TikTok
over his Tesla. What did?
And I had to watch the whole video because he was just a hilarious gay guy with fake nails, just being funny, and I was just crying on my couch. And basically he was just saying that he has had so many issues with the Tesla, and then at that moment he had to he's now I have to go. I had to pay $200 for, or I don't know how much money he had to pay just to get the car to the dealer, because they can't do the regular towing system. He was explaining there's another one, whatever. And then that was that, and then there was a fee for assessment. So before he even got the problem as to what happened to his Tesla, he had already spent $500.
I saw one video one of on TikTok, and it's a man. He basically needs to, you run out of gas and somebody comes to pump gas. You run out of electricity, and it's we've got this portable charger. You need gas to run the charger.
That was awesome.
And I mean, let's link it back together, because it's been in the news cycle. Didn't the government just say that they want to put kill switches on all of our cars? On all of our cars?
Yeah.
So basically, full control. You can't decide. For those of you who don't know, globalism, the Green New Deal, one of the biggest things that it controls is transportation, so that they can have control of you, so that they can track you. Because if you are in a subway versus your own car, you're you're easier to track because you have to scan a card. There's cameras. They can use facial tracking as opposed to you sitting in your own vehicle. So when you see these laws or this legislation that's like pushed to either, charge you per mile or kill switches in your car, or we want everybody to drive this kind of car, those are all pushes to control transportation. Even when they were pushing the V to get on public transportation that we just spoke about, like these are giant moves towards globalism. Transportation is a huge pillar of taking absolute control at a global level. So when you've got this guy who's very villainy, I understand that some people think Tony Stark, but I don't trust them at all. I don't get Tony Stark vibes from Elon Musk. I get like more Dr. Evil. Like I feel like he's like the perfect person, the perfect pill or antichrist to come in for the right, who's looking for a savior like they always do. It's Trump, DeSantis, this, that, whatever. And he's like the guy that is cool because he's a capitalist and he has this big company and it's cool with the gadgets and that's innovation. And he moved his company to Texas for conservatives. And he says base things on the internet. Right. And next thing you know, he's going to have you on universal basic income with a chip in your head. Riding around this electric car is going to be electric. And Joe Biden's going to Nancy Pelosi's going to be drunk one day and shut off your cars for no reason because you trusted Elon Musk because he tweeted I don't know what his real intentions are, but I do want to talk about his love for China. So conservatives there's a big problem within the right-wing conservative movement, which is that you cannot talk about your enemies, right? Whether it be Russia, China, North Korea. That would not be a good example because we don't see anything from that place positive, but we see some stuff from China, we see some stuff from Russia and other countries that America really, really hates. If you say anything positive, remotely positive about these people, whether it's actual legislation that you're like, that's a good piece of legislation that XY country passed, you get eaten alive. Oh, are you excusing the genocide, the camps, the this, the blah, 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 and to just go on with this rant. I say this because Elon Musk, who's now being praised by, the likes of Jack Posobiec and, DC Drano and all these big conservatives like, the legislators and stuff like that, is a huge fan of China. Huge. Right? So in China's, when China had its 100, or the CCP had its 100th anniversary, which was last year, Elon Musk was one of the first ones to go and congratulate he does a lot of business in China as well, by the way. Right. Tesla's a big deal over there. So a Chinese state media, I'm going to pull up the tweet now. They tweeted this. This was actually June 30th, 2021. It says, China has realized the first centenary goal, 100 years of under the CCP. And this is what it says. China has realized the first centenary goal, building a moderately prosperous society in all respects. This means that we have brought about a historic resolution to the problem of absolute poverty in China, and we're now marching in confident strides toward a second centenary goal of building China into a great modern socialist in all aspects, right? This tweet is straight from Chinese state affiliated media. And so Elon replies back and says, the economic prosperity that China has achieved is truly amazing, especially in infrastructure. I encourage people to go visit and see for yourselves. So on one side, the conservatives cannot hear a single thing from China, nothing. I mean, I've gotten eaten alive by people before. I reposted last week a video of a woman in Shanghai. She's on lockdown. She literally says she's on lockdown. She says how bad it is. I mean, she's literally saying that she can't walk her dog. She's saying these things. She's very respectful of those ways. I guess she's okay with it, not like us that we're like, Right, she's not battling it. She's just not battling. She's like, it is what it is. The reality is, right. She even calls it like a compartment or something where she's like staying, I guess, her apartment building. And I repost that story, right? And all I said, I didn't even give my opinion. I said, there's a woman in Shanghai and she is debunking
Western media lies or something. Guy, I still had, that was like last Tuesday, I still had people Saturday and Sunday coming to my DMs like, you said China was great. And I was like, I never said that. Like they get so defensive if you say anything, even if it's impartial. But then you have all this praise over Elon Musk, who has repeatedly, not just in that one tweet, but other times praised China. And I said this the other day too, and I told my followers I would leave this for the podcast. And I've spoken to you about this before as well. It is my belief that China is trying to prove to the world that their communist, socialist state works. Why is that? China hasn't intervened or started any wars, I don't know, 100 years?
Right.
Probably. Very peaceful nation from the outside looking in. Again, I don't want people to come at me like, oh, the Uyghurs, how they do this. We're talking about perception and what they're trying to show the world, right?
Right, and from like a business economic standpoint too.
They own most of our manufacturing, whether it's...
Most of it.
I mean, like everything.
Medications. I mean, from medications to your kids' toys to what we eat. So you
start a war with China, we're screwed. That's why they're not going to touch China. And this has been happening for the past 30 years, thanks to both parties, Republicans and Democrats, who have sold us off to the interests of China, right? So you have that. You have them as a their infrastructure, I heard, is insane.
Well, because it goes back to transportation.
Insane.
It goes back to full control.
Which is what we're talking about infrastructure. We're talking about what the bridges they're building, the way that, you know what I'm talking about? Amazing. It's a modern country. It is whatever, I don't know the exact system, but they're not a failed state like Cuba, who you're not going to go to Cuba and find an H&M or a Louis Vuitton store or a Chanel store or high-end whatever dining. You go to Cuba and it's like crap.
This also goes back to, the other conversation. I remember a few weeks ago, an alliance was built between China, Brazil. And
Brazil, it's the biggest country. So Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa.
Right. And I remember posting about it, and just like you, I got negative feedback. Like, I don't know how I feel about, I don't know how I feel about China. I don't know how I feel about China. And it's like, guys, here's the thing. Everything isn't, again, black or white. Because China is so self-sufficient. And they do have, again, these 100-year goals. They're staying out of wars. They don't want any involvement. Is exactly why they are anti-globalism.
Right.
They don't want to respond to a globalist.
They don't want to respond.
They want to do their own shit and be left alone to do their own thing.
It doesn't mean we're want to live in this totalitarian, insane
by
regime.
By no means. But when you're looking at it from even like a strategic point of view, these totalitarian governments have a lot more freedom and flexibility to protect their the nationalism that other countries that are busy playing the political game with the globalist organizations cannot. So the perception is, here are all these bad dictators that don't want to play fair with the rest of the world, when in reality, it's a lot more complicated than that, because here are these dictators that want to continue to protect their sovereign nations and not be part of this globalist order. So there is, there's never, at least when I post content like that, to go back to what you were saying, it's not a defense of China. Like, oh, look, guys, China is a good guy.
We want to live in China.
No, it's not about good versus bad. It's about, do you understand that there is a full-on operation right now by a globalist or globalist organizations to take over individual sovereignty of every country? When you understand that that's something that's happening, then you can be more open to the fact that there are countries that are standing up to defend themselves from that. And China is one of them.
And here's another thing too, where there are people obviously who don't want to live under a communist state, who I'm sure despise the CCP, who I'm sure would give a limb to come to the United States. My friends, there are also many people who prefer a communist state. And that's something that conservatives cannot simply, like, it's just brain shut, no response, no chance, you're defending communism. So when I reposted that video, you were going to say something?
Well, yeah, because this is a conversation that has come up with the SOS Cuba, which there's, there is a large predominant majority of the island that's already 3 generations, sometimes 4 generations into communism that don't know how to live in any other way. So when you tell them, stand up, rise up, why would they? Them, their mothers, their grandmothers have never held a job because they've been taken care of by the government. So rising up means you're biting the hand that feeds you. So this idea that everybody values freedom like Americans do is erroneous. We value it because we know it and we understand it.
If communism wasn't popular, we wouldn't be fighting what we're fighting right now.
Right.
If communism wasn't popular, like...
Because fairy tales are popular. In theory, everybody's the same. We're all going to be great. In theory, there's still 20-year-olds that are going to forever be falling for communism.
Well, so here's the thing, right? I post this video, one video. Some people get pissed off about it. Oh, she's defending the CCP and all this stuff. I have friends of mine, and many liberals actually believed that the way that China handled the pandemic was the right way to do things. That wasn't me. I was fighting my local county. I was the crazy lady around Miami, fighting the mask mandates and whatever and doing crazy things. That's not my opinion. That is, however,
there are people.
I know, because I have been told by one of my friends who is a Democrat who has visited China, who had amazing things to say when she came back from China, and many other people that I know that have been to China have great things to say. It's really not on top of my list. And it's not great
things in spite of how they managed the COVID. There were great things because of how. So their lockdowns, culture. Masks, the tracking, keeping you in your hotel room for X amount of time. Those are all things that there's actually people out there praising this.
My friend... Miami Music Week was literally 2 weeks ago or in March or less than a month ago. And we were at dinner at the end of but she's like, but China, the way China did it was right because, they locked down for 6 weeks. They couldn't even leave their homes. The government was bringing them food to their table. They didn't go anywhere, blah, blah, blah. But then that's it. That was the end of it. They were gone. After that, they were free. Had we done that, had nobody left their homes in America, had everybody been on the same page, we could have been just like China. Well, hello, look at Shanghai now, right? Like they're under another lockdown. In fact, there is this guy, what's his name? Munger. I don't know if that's his right name, but whatever. Is a longtime friend of Warren Buffett. So this is like what's his name? He's the Berkshire Hathaway Vice Chairman Charlie Munger, and he also praised the Chinese government for their lockdowns. This is exactly what he says. He literally says they did it exactly right. When it was all over, they kind of went back to work. So this idea that there aren't people there that you're seeing that support, or just not necessarily support, but they just deal with their lockdowns because they're not going to fight this insane government. I mean, we've literally seen how crazy they can get. They just, hey, if I have to stay locked in and I have to get my fruits and veggies delivered to me and I have to hand my dog over to the dog walker, I'm going to do it because I'm not going to get in a fight with the CCP.
I think that's a really difficult thing for Americans to accept, though, because Americans are just like, guns blazing, we're doing whatever the fuck we want. It's like... Most countries don't really
that's what I love about
like that.
I love our fighting spirit. Right. But with that being said,
well, I mean, it's why we inspire the rest of the world, right? It's exactly why we had American flags being waved in Taiwan just last year, right? So was that the protests were 2020?
2020.
It was 2020.
So I think with Musk, I definitely don't trust them. I find him to be the perfect role, the perfect person to play this role.
They say that the Antichrist is going to be loved by the world, and Elon Musk seems to be doing pretty well. I mean, there's
a reason
biblically it's not enough to know how it is that could potentially line up.
There's a reason why he attracts the liberals with his innovation that helps climate change And also the conservatives. So
it's a time bomb. I personally just say, watch out with the guy that wants to put, plant chips into your brain and then says that it's for a good cause.
Right.
All right, Elon. All right, guys. So as we come to an end, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share our content so we can get our voice out there, since Big Tech does such a great job at trying to censor us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. And also don't forget that we are on Apple Podcasts at Mostly Peaceful Latinas. We are on Spotify at Mostly Peaceful Latinas, TikTok at Mostly Peaceful Latinas, Instagram at Mostly Peaceful Latinas. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
See you guys next week.